We don't have a chair yet. I'll be acting chair until we vote somebody in today. It's 7 o'clock. We can go ahead and get started with the meeting. But I would take any volunteers who want to do the land acknowledgement tonight. Anybody feel like reading? No? Okay. All right. Dexter? Great. So after we do the roll call, then we'll do the land acknowledgement. So I'll just start here on this end tonight. Member Carlton? Aye. Member Green?
Here.
Member 1?
Here.
Okay, and so I'm just gonna, you're pronouncing your name, Gwangachang?
Gyamokang?
Yangakhan?
Yeah.
Okay, Member Yang.
Here.
I just have to read it while I'm doing it, and I'll get it. Member Johnson? Here. Member Shaw is absent. Member Yi?
Here.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to Arts Committee, Monday, May 12th. Dexter, if you would mind reading the land acknowledgement.
City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Least John. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home.
Okay, so the first thing that we have on the agenda for tonight is the selection of committee chair and vice chair. We talked through this a little bit at the last meeting, but I'll just briefly review. Tonight we will receive any recommendations for chair and vice chair. Motion and a second for anybody, or first of all, is there anybody who is interested in being chair or somebody who does not want to be chair? Okay.
Definitely don't want to be chair.
Don't want to be chair, okay. So, and anybody who is interested in being chair?
Well,
Yeah,
Harsh, but he's not here.
okay, but Harsh is not here, okay.
Yeah.
Can
So.
we vote him in anyway?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so there can be a motion for somebody who's not here in attendance, and I spoke briefly with Harsh last week, and he had mentioned that he was interested, so.
Okay.
So if that's the case, we can take, and if Harsh is voted in as chair for tonight's meeting, would there be somebody, well, the vice chair could sub for him since not here. Anyways, whoever is elected. So I'll receive nominations for chair.
I nominate Harsh for chair.
Okay, if we have one nomination, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay, seeing none. So, all right. So we have a nomination for Harsh Shah as chair for the Arts Committee for this next term. Member Carlton.
Aye.
Okay. Member Green.
Aye.
Member Wan.
Aye.
Member Genokan? Okay.
Aye.
Okay. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Yi?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Harsh is our new chair, if only he was here. Okay, so vice chair. The vice chair of the committee will substitute for the chair when the chair is not here. That would be the primary function of the vice chair. The chair and the vice chair certainly could talk about things that are coming up in upcoming meetings, but really it's the role to fill in when the chair is not here. So is there anybody who would be interested in being the vice chair? Okay, one. Anybody else interested in being a vice chair? Okay, it looks like we have. Okay, so did you nominate yourself?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, we have one nomination. Is there a second for Member Green as vice chair?
Second.
Brett, second. Brett. All right. Okay, voting on Member Green as vice chair. So Member Carlton? Aye. Member Green?
Aye.
Member Wan?
Aye.
Member Ganakan?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Yi?
Aye.
All right. So, Vice Chair, would you mind taking over the gavel for the rest of tonight's meeting?
Okay.
All right, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay. So next up is the approval of the minutes. Did people have time to review them?
So, there is a new Wi-Fi in here, COA Public. The old guest Wi-Fi is, the current, the Wi-Fi for COA Public is Albany Cares, all one word, all lowercase. Does anybody need me to bring the minutes up onto the screen to review? Okay.
So I move that we approve them.
Do we have a second?
Motion.
Okay. All right. Member Carlton? Member Green?
Aye.
Member Wan?
Aye.
Member Ganokan?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Yi?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes pass. All right.
Okay, so next is public comment.
All right, so looking at our, looks like we have one member of the public here. Is there any public comment that members would, we have no members online at the moment. All right, so no public comment at the moment.
Okay, the next is Susan Moffett talking about Path to Belonging.
Welcome, Susan.
Yeah, whoops. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to update the committee on the Path to Belonging project, which is the city-sponsored creative justice art project. So we started the project and had two really wonderful artist bookmaking workshops in October of last year, and I really appreciated that member Brad Carlton attended and participated, and we also had council members Robin Lopez and John Mickey who also attended and participated. So it was really wonderful to have that level of participation. And on our website, pathtobelonging.net, you can see images both of the process of those workshops and the finished books that Albany residents made on the theme of home and belonging. So that was the first part of our project, and now I'm going to update you on what we have coming up, which is something I'm really excited about for the next phase of Path to Belonging. We're going to be taking the process of collecting stories and sharing stories back out into the neighborhoods of Albany, and we're also going to be integrating our project with existing beloved Albany events, including Solano Stroll and also Dinner with Albany. So what's coming up next is a process of collecting family collages. And I don't know, can you bring up the image of just one prototype family collage? So I'm working with community members to invite them to share family photos, family trees, and documents, whether they are old immigration documents. This is just a prototype that I've developed based on my own family's history, and this is a list of passengers on the ship in 1903 that brought my grandfather to the United States, and there are pictures of my mother as a baby and her mother, and also images of my grandfather's draft registration card in the 1940s when he was interned at Manzanar and still was required as a 56-year-old to incarcerated unjustly he was required to register for the draft. So I think there are so many interesting histories in Albany from so many different directions. And the idea of these collages is to gather stories of all the places that people have been before they came to Albany, bring them together into a giant immersive set of collages in the lobby of the community center, and hopefully get a lot of participation from families that have all different kinds of backgrounds, using whether it's old documents from Ancestry.com or more recent documents that people may have as well. And so I would love to invite the committee members and anybody listening. I'll be collecting these documents and photos and then interviewing folks about their family history. And then I'll be working with Olivia Ting, who's an amazing visual artist, to transform these into kind of shared collages. The other aspect of this part of the project is that we will be taking the story collection and the storytelling out into the neighborhoods through the means of a very cute miniature truck. It's called the Here, Here truck, as in here, here. And it's a 1970s, very small Japanese delivery truck. It's electric, and it has a large video screen. And it's been used very effectively by Sue Mark, who's a socially engaged artist who's done a very interesting project in North Oakland called Community Archive. And so I'm working with Sue to bring this truck to neighborhoods in Albany where they will attract, the truck will be a kind of gathering place for community conversations and encourage people to both share their stories and see some of the images that we've already collected. And we'll be taking this truck around to different neighborhoods in Albany, also to the Solano Stroll, and also at Dinner with Albany, where it'll be a really fun place both to encourage people to share their photos, but also to share some of what we've already collected. So the project is going to be exhibited in January. That's when the exhibition is going to start in the community center. So the project, which was originally going to end in December 2025, will continue through the end of the exhibition in March of 2026. And instead of doing the projections on the BART tracks, we thought that for both technical reasons and also just in terms of engaging people where they are, both literally and figuratively, that taking the stories out on the video trek into the community, into neighborhoods, rather than having a single event where people come to the Ohlone Greenway would be more effective in engaging the community. So that's the direction that we're taking things, and I would love to have your help in, spreading the word through your networks. Pretty soon, there will be more information about this project, this part of the project on the website, and we'll be sending out by social media and through our newsletter, and it would be really wonderful if you could help share our call for stories. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that folks have.
I don't have any, but I was going to ask if anybody else did. Do you have any questions, Brad?
Just
That needs to be, there you go.
you're planning on your show in the gallery starting in January.
Correct.
Okay, great. Kind of like what we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Correct, yeah.
If there are no other questions, I'll open this up for public comment. And seeing that we don't have any online public. With that, if there's no other questions or one of the reasons why we invited Susan to come and share is there will be a few changes to the scope of the agreement and I think good modifications to make it a little bit easier to make the connections with the community and also leverage some of the larger events that are happening over the remainder of this year to be in front of a lot of Albany residents. I think that's it's a good a good change, but but it is a change to what was approved by the previous committee. So we wanted to bring that forward in case anybody had any questions or concerns. So we'll be doing an amendment to the contract to note these. And we've also made one other change too. We were originally looking at the end of this year to do the production at the community center and the installation. But in order to be able to capture the residents at Dinner with Albany and Solano Stroll, we felt that it was a good plan to push that off, which obviously will make a few changes to the foyer gallery in terms of, but I think that's something that can be managed with this, the current call for artists and any of the other artists you already have they're currently working with.
Yeah, I can give a quick update.
Okay.
I was just going to say, it's great. It's really, the changes seem like you'll get a lot of response, and it'll be fun to have it at the Dinner with Albany, too.
Yeah, the interviews I've done so far are great, and it's kind of doing this one-on-one work. I think it's going to be really fruitful. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Susan, for coming.
Okay, thank you
and
so
joining.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Dexter with Fall Into Haiku.
All right, go ahead, Ed.
Okay. So I'm going to be presenting a proposal of bringing the Haiku program back to Albany in 2025, formerly known as Fall Into Haiku. Next slide, please. So as you all probably know, haiku is a classic style of Japanese poetry aimed at capturing a moment of keen perception or understanding in a short form. It's usually 3 lines, with the first line being 5 syllables, then 7, then 5. Next slide, please. So why should we bring this program back? Haikus provide a concise expression of thoughts that make it easy for many to participate. So it's very inclusive. Anyone can participate. Like, I remember, as you'll see, I participated when I was in elementary school, so it's very inclusive. The Albany community loves it. It's been offered several times, but not since 2022. I think the pandemic kind of slowed it down a little bit, and we haven't had it since then. So I met with a former Albany Arts Committee member, Peter Goodman, and we talked about what this would take, and as he ran it many times in the past. So it's also part of my personal Albany experience. I wrote a haiku and got it published on Solano in December of 2018. There's a picture of me on the last slide with it. Next slide, please. So my proposed steps for this project is tonight we create a subcommittee of 2 to 3 AAC members for this project. In the next couple months, we would prepare the budget, get approval from the AAC, and write to the Albany Community Foundation to seek funding. And then we would discuss timing and come up with a theme for the program. In July and August, we would write up text describing the program and eligibility for it, and create a submission form. We would also place text and form on the website and promote the program through social media, calling for submissions in a roughly 6-week period ending in early October. We could also make some kind of promotional material, maybe a postcard or something else, to promote the program and try and get some more submissions. Next slide, please. In October, at the deadline, we would collect the submissions, and we would collate, or we would make a selection committee, which I'll talk about in a sec, because it's been, Peter said it had been kind of controversial in the past, so we would have to talk about that. But yeah, so we would select the haikus. that we want to put out. In November and early December, we would design and print the yard signs and posters, and then place them around town, posting the locations on Google Maps so the participants can see where theirs is. And then, make an announcement via the city newsletter and social media so that everyone can know what's going on. And then in January, we would remove the yard signs and posters and hopefully get it back to the authors, although we'd have to figure that out. So for the selection process, well, first of all, anyone who lives, works, or goes to school in Albany can submit a poem. And then, the subcommittee would have to decide on a methodology for selection. I suggest that the selection committee be made up of the subcommittee plus a student, volunteer, and one community member, so that it's not just the arts committee choosing the which haikus get put out. I also think we should have a kind of like a rubric set at the outset, so that we make sure we get we have quality poems, but also make sure we have a diverse range of people who are getting represented. Next slide, please. So for the budget and applying for the ACF grant, we would have to figure out how many poems we can select with the budget we have available. In the past, they've done a mix of yard signs and posters that get put on the side of big bellies, which are the city trash cans. And then numbers to be determined once budget is known. The yard signs are more expensive than the big bellies, so you just kind of have to figure out how much of each. So then we would also try and find a graphic artist to design the yard signs, either for free or at a discounted rate, depending on who we can find. Next slide, please. So the total budget of the last project was $900, with significant cost reductions due to printing and design work at a discount. I haven't figured out a budget yet, but I'm imagining it would be somewhere from $1,500 to $2,000. I did write an email to the ACF, and they said they would be welcome to to give a grant to us. If we agree to the project, I would be happy to write to them and try and get a grant. And a small bit of city staff time would likely also be needed for this. Next slide, please. So an overview of the estimated workload would be 4 hours for planning and copywriting, 2 hours for collating the submissions, 2 hours for selecting, 4 hours for design and production, 4 to 5 hours for placement, and 2 to 3 hours for removal, so about 18 to 20 hours, which I think is pretty doable. And just a couple final thoughts that I've had are to possibly hold a reception for poets, maybe at the community center, just a little social event maybe. And then also possibly adding some of the poems to the Albany website if we really like a couple, and next slide, please. So thanks for listening. There's me, 4th grade. I hope you like my haiku. Looking forward to our discussion. Thanks for listening.
All right, thank you. So we can do a round of any questions and open it.
Any questions?
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Dexter?
I have a question. I think I missed this, but how would the poems be submitted?
That's a good question. I assume we would make a submission form, and we would have to somehow spread the word to the community community?
Yeah, I can answer that question.
Okay.
We would create a form on the city website and create a designated URL for the poetry, for the Fall into Haiku or Spring into Haiku or Haiku Project, whatever we titled it. And then there would be a form embedded on the website where people would be able to enter in all of their personal information and then write the poem. And then it would be delivered likely to city staff, and then we would collate all of those, collect them, and then provide them to the subcommittee.
Okay, so it'll be submitted like via like the flyers, like a QR code.
Well, it could be a QR code that goes directly to a website page. So there can be a variety of different ways that we could create marketing around it that would direct people to the form, but it would be an electronic submission.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any theme or guidelines that you are going to give these people for submitting their haikus?
Yes, we would select a theme for the project.
Would it be open to only Albany citizens?
So yeah, it would be anyone who lives, works, or goes to school in Albany, unless you guys want to change that, but that's what I had in mind.
I think that's what it was in the past
Yeah.
for past haiku programs.
Don't we have money to pay for this?
So I do, yes, kind of. So we were talking with the city manager, and there are funds available for the printing and the production work. Probably won't have very much city staff time to dedicate towards this, but with the creation of actually, let me step back. We can't, since this is only a presentation item, the committee can't create subcommittees tonight. But at the next meeting, we can agendize a fuller discussion of that, or we will have an agenda item for creating subcommittees. So with that, we'll be able to get started with a subcommittee. Now, so up to, not exactly sure what the amount is, but the printing and production costs is something, it's not budgeted for right now, but we should be able to work that in as we've talked through it. There is funds for public art, but only permanent public art. So this does not qualify as permanent, so it doesn't fall under the scope of the art in public places. If these were permanent installations in people's yards, people may or may not want to have them there. So.
Okay.
Would this fall underneath the community projects set aside fund?
No, because anything, it's not permanent. For anything that's coming out of the Public Arts Master Plan, for the projects, those have to be permanent. And just to clarify, so no dance performances, no poetry recitals, those, it needs to be a permanent rendition.
I just had a couple comments. First of all, that was a great presentation. I would just maybe tweak the schedule a little bit, because everything takes longer than you can even imagine. So like I would maybe just push things back. And then also, in other years, was it around during the winter holidays? Because it seems like that would be kind of cluttered because the city decorates.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I think for the Fall into Haiku, it was up around Thanksgiving to Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been maybe 1 or 2 times like a spring into haiku one. So if you want to push it back, that could be a possibility. I don't know about the clutterness.
Yeah, that was just an observation. But I would definitely, like, if you're going for the fall, I would maybe do the selection in September and let October and be for producing. Yeah, but otherwise, that's great. It was a great proposal.
Did we already do public comment? No, we did not. Yeah. Are there any other questions or comments about? Okay. Just by consensus, something that the committee is interested in looking at some more? Okay, all right.
Yes.
I'll open it up for public comment. See if we don't have any members here in the audience right now, but if we have a few people online, if anybody would like to raise their hand and make a comment about the presentation of Fall into Haiku, please do so now. Okay, looks like no public comment.
Okay, so on to the next thing. Okay, the next is the discussion of the public art master plan programs. That's quite a mouthful.
Yeah, it is a mouthful. So at the, Sabrina, you weren't here at the last meeting. I wasn't sure if you got a chance to, and Brad, you weren't here either, if you got a chance to look at the video, but we did a high-level overview of the Public Arts Master Plan and the projects that the committee could be looking at. I've wanted to bring that back. There isn't any urgency on this right now, but this is a good time to start the conversation to see if there's any changes or just keep moving forward with what is currently on the, let me just go ahead and bring back up with the committee. Did anybody get a chance to look at the council meeting from 2 years ago where this was approved? Okay, if not, that's okay.
Did you say there was a video?
The last month's committee meeting.
Yeah, I missed that.
So I'll pull this up here. We can take a quick look. So these were the projects the committee submitted to council and that were approved 2 years ago. It was a continuation of some of the items. The top item right here is the Creative Justice Art Project. This is the one that we just received a presentation with the updates from Susan Moffett earlier this evening. The murals in the commercial district. Actually, the public art, there was a set aside of $30,000. These are all funds from the Public Arts Fund. The murals in commercial district is currently in progress, but paused because of the items that I mentioned at the last meeting. The state legislation for mural that is requiring. That currently requires all muralists to have contractors' licenses. Otherwise, cities risk litigation. Without going into too much detail, potentially anybody who is allowing murals to happen by artists who do not have a contractor's license could be held liable with damages, including all members of this committee. If they were to forward something to city council and city council said yes and it went forward, there could be lawsuits from aggravated individuals who don't want that to happen. And so there's currently legislation pending in the California State Legislature that will modify this to allow an exemption for muralists to do this work. But this likely won't have any resolution till the end of the year. So all of the mural projects that we're currently working on are on pause until either we receive some new news from the city attorney from the state, but otherwise this is just on hold until this gets resolved, which hopefully it will. And in all likelihood, it will. It's just not happening soon. There's the sculpture loan program that the city has funds set aside to pay artists to bring large sculptures to preset locations with pads to receive a sculpture at various places around the city. We have two openings, actually no, one opening right now, and we've got a call for artists ready to go, which we likely will move forward with within the next month and a half. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you, is that the empty one?
It's the empty one, but the pad is there.
And did you find out where it is?
Oh gosh, I forgot to ask that.
Okay.
I knew there was something that I was supposed to ask, but I asked everything except for the exact address. I will forward that to the committee.
Didn't we purchase the one that is already?
We did, yes.
Great.
So last year, the committee purchased one of the sculptures that had been loaned to the city. So now that is a permanent part of the city's public art. The other item is the heron sculpture. One of the previous members, Julian, did a lot of work interfacing with the artist in the last term of the Arts Committee. And we have determined that likely the amount of money that we have set aside is likely 2 to 3 times, actually it was going to probably be 2 to 3 times more than what we have here, but we've passed this on to Public Works because now it's, Public Works is looking at this to work with a contractor to get quotes for rehabilitation. That's what the committee discussed in the last term, that the committee was interested in restoring, or at least finding out how much it would take to restore, and then once we have a number, we'll bring that back to the committee to decide whether it's worth moving forward with a restoration of the heron sculpture down at the bulb, or if the committee would like to do something different, perhaps look for another type of artwork, because public art has an end of life. And maybe this one is at its end of life. And then what Brad had mentioned earlier is the Community Projects Set Aside Fund. This is one area that I should mention a couple things. This is the rest of the money that would be left in the fund that could be used for an organization or an individual to come to the Arts Committee and say, hey, I've got this really great idea. Can we do this? The other thing is the committee could decide to do something more formal and specific with a call for artists for small projects. That could be something that the committee looks at if there's a desire to get more art out into the community and have smaller grants for smaller things. But it would have to be something that was equitable, clear, defined, and that would likely be up to a subcommittee or the Arts Committee to work through and figure out a good plan for how to distribute these funds. But you also the committee doesn't need to spend all of the money, so it can also just sit here for something else that may come up in the future. These are the sort of things that the committee will look at. And as we spend some time with this, there's no decisions that need to be made tonight about this, but as we start working on this, is there anything that's missing? Do we need to make changes? Should there be something else? Should the amounts be modified? Is there something that's something that should be looked at instead of the Community Project Set Aside Fund? That was just something that was looked at before by a committee and recommended to council, and council approved it. But if there's no changes, it doesn't have to go back to council. It could just be on consent, and we could just move forward with the same thing and continue working on the types of projects that the committee is able to manage in this term. Maybe until the murals comes back online, focus on sculpture loan, or focus on fall into haiku, which falls outside the parameters of this, but it could be another project that the committee is actively engaged in. A couple of other things that are going to be coming up at upcoming meetings is we currently have a call for artists out for the Foyer Gallery, which will end in June, and likely the committee will be looking at applications for the Foyer Gallery in July. Kind of pushed that back so that the committee would have more time to look at artists, so that the gallery manager would be able to have more time to book artists for the coming year. So we kind of shifted that all back a little bit. So there would be things that the committee is looking at, but taking an opportunity now to talk through some of this and maybe do a little bit of brainstorming about how to allocate funds in these next 2 years, and kind of what the committee's desires are. So that's really what I had to share for tonight, and if anybody has any questions or want to have any discussion, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I was just wondering if the community projects, you said that needs to be projects that are ongoing or solid or forever projects. Is that set in stone? Is that any way we can change that? Because
Not with this fund. This fund is very specifically for permanent installations. So if it was, say, if it was going to be some of the things that had come before were mural projects, but that has its own set of challenges right now. So maybe there's a plaque that would be installed somewhere, or if there's another way to create permanent community art in a location that the Arts Committee could consider, that would be something to look at.
okay, but it's pretty much only permanent art.
Correct. Yeah.
Since we know that the heron sculpture is going to cost more, unless we decide to get a new one, which still might cost more because it's large, could we vote to change that amount to a more realistic number?
You know, we could, but it doesn't. But this can also be dealt with at any time. So there's no urgency to say that it needs to be done by a certain date. Otherwise, you can't do anything. So at any point during these next 2 years, if the amount comes in, then the committee could make a modification to this, take it to council, and then have it be approved.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions or concerns or things to think about with regard to public art in Albany?
Let's do more of it.
More? Okay. All right, then.
In the midst of it.
Let's see, then I guess we can go to public comment, if that's all right. All right, so looking around, nobody here in the room. If there's anybody in the virtual audience who would like to raise their hand and comment on the discussion we're having on public arts master plan programs and the public art projects, please do so now. Okay, seeing no hands.
Okay, then, thank you, Jeremy. And let's move on to announcements, right?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. At the next, well, actually, I'll discuss with the chair the agenda items for the next meeting, but I would imagine we'll be coming back with looking at some subcommittees. That was just one of the things that I was going to mention. Still, from a staff's point of view, we're still working through getting some of the final details on the new website, but I was able to work with Brad and with this what do we say, this quarter's artist, Karen Butenik, has a gallery showing at the community center. Looks really nice.
So it looks great.
I was there today. I was taking a look at it. So I just wanted to mention that. We're going to do, now that we're streamlining some of our processes, I've talked with Brad a little bit about how to submit the items for our newsletter so that we make sure that we get that out to the public in a timely manner, to make sure that certainly at the next show, I want to make sure that we advertise that and we can invite the public to attend the reception. I definitely dropped the ball as I've been working on the entirety of the website. There have been a few things that haven't been able to get to everything, so I apologize for that.
I get it. It looks good. Thank you for doing that.
Then I just also wanted to mention to the committee that I've received an email from the artist Yano, who's the artist who we're hopefully going to still go into contract with for the murals on the Bart pillars. I haven't got a chance to get back to him. I was out of town for about a week last week when he emailed me to check in. Unfortunately, we don't have any more information to share other than what I've shared with the committee, but I'll convey that to the artists, and hopefully they can be patient and be able to wait until we do this. But we can't sign a contract with the artist until we get the go-ahead from the city attorney to be able to move forward. Because the reason being is that if somehow the legislation doesn't pass, then we would have a contract that we wouldn't be able to fulfill. So it's unfortunate, but we're just hoping that they'll be able to be patient and we'll come back strong when everything gets sorted out. But that concludes any of the announcements that I have. I guess we can, we also wanted to take an opportunity to reintroduce everybody since we've got some people who weren't here last time. So I'll just go ahead and start. We can go around the table. My name is Jeremy Allen. I do media production for the City of Albany. I've been doing the Arts Committee, I've been filming Arts Committee meetings for many years, because typically I'm behind the scenes running the cameras for any of these productions, but it was about a year and a half ago I took over as the staff liaison. I am also a professional musician, photographer, and videographer outside of my work here in the city, so I was the closest thing to an artist that was available to y'all. So anyways, that's who I am. So I'm glad to see some new faces here, and I'll pass it on to Brad.
We'll see Jeremy at all the events. He's got his giant camera out there taking pictures. So you want to be there and be dressed nicely. Anyway, I'm Brad Carlton. I'm recently retired from the video game industry, and I've been an artist my entire life. I do have my own show coming up in about a month. If anybody is old enough to go to Ocean View Brew Works. Actually, they're all ages, so it doesn't matter. You can bring your kids. Anyway, this is my second term on the committee, and I am the art gallery manager. So if anybody wants to get involved with that, just let me know. It's not a huge amount of work, but it's a amount of work. It takes time. Anyway, it's great to get to know all these different artists. We've had some great shows for the last 2 years, and so it's really fun seeing these people, and they sell a lot of their paintings, and so it's very successful.
I'm Deirdre Green, and when I'm not here, I'm managing the Aloni, Cafe Aloni, and all its other incarnations. And actually, right now, we're working with the city to revise the land acknowledgement. Before that, I was a book publisher, so, and I've been involved in Albany for a long time, and this is my second term on this committee.
I'm Madison Guan. I'm a high schooler in Albany. This is my first term. I've been doing art my whole life, and my sister previously served here, so I thought this was like a good opportunity to just bring my art skills and like use it for the Albany community. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Tenzin Gyamokang. I'm a current junior at Albany High. I've been like interested in art like forever, and I've like always loved photography. That's one of my like main passions within like the realm of art. But yeah, I just wanted to be involved, especially like within the community of Albany, and having more like hands-on opportunities within that. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Dexter Johnson. I'm also a junior in high school, and I've been on the arts committee since, I want to say, October of last year. Yeah, it's been really fun. It's been a great opportunity for me, and I look forward to keep making a difference here.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Yi. I'm a junior at Albany High School, and this is my first term serving on the arts committee. I've loved art and I've been doing it ever since I was a little kid. So I'm really excited to bring like art and the community together.
Well, good. Thanks for doing the introductions. Harsh can do a solo show when he gets here next time. I don't have any other announcements. Do any other committee members have announcements?
I do have a couple quick ones. The art gallery is going well. Glad that Susan came to your show in January. That means we're set through January. So Alta Artists is perfect timing. And I'm also the only member of the marketing subcommittee that we created in the previous.
So those committees don't carry over. So
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Going to disband it.
yeah. So all of the committees that existed before, we'll have to create new committees for this term.
That's it.
Okay, anything else? Then I guess we're adjourned.
All right. So that at 8:51? 7:51. The most efficient. So just the previous committee that I chaired was voted at one point the most efficient because it got all of its work done in under an hour. So if you want to keep it going that way. They're not always this short. There's oftentimes we have a lot to talk about, but thank you everybody for coming tonight.
Thank you.